Hello, everybody. My name is Roy Nemer of Wrestleview.com. I'm your Wrestleview.com SmackDown recapper. This is the Wrestleview.com SmackDown Post Show number 17. Yes, we are back after a 1-week hiatus. I do apologize about last week. Some stuff came up. It was just the very, very last minute. Wasn't feeling too well. However, we're back better than ever. I see a lot of people in the chat. Here we go. Let's do this. So I have Quentin, who's in the chat. How are you, Quentin? Hope you're doing well, buddy. I have Jamel, number 2 in the chat. I have Andrew, who's here to acknowledge our own Wrestleview.com tribal chief. Thank you, Andrew. It means a lot, buddy. It means a lot. We're going to get into the tribal chief. We're going to talk about all of that. It's going to be very, very interesting. I have Gil's fan in the chat as well. Hello, Gil's fan. I hope you're well. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Right off the bat, we have Andrew who's saying SmackDown was pretty good. Light on talent, but pretty good. Missed a couple of matches because his modem got unplugged, so he didn't get to see the entire show. But that's what we're here for, right? And we have, there you go, we got Mr. Raw himself, Mr. Monday Night. Forget about RVD being Mr. ECW, whatever that was. We got Mr. Monday Night, Mr. Mike Tedesco joining us, our Wrestleview.com Raw recapper. Make sure to visit his show. Make sure to drop in on Mondays. He's with his lovely wife, Victoria, as they cover Raw. And we're on Facebook as well. We're not just on YouTube. We're also on Facebook. So if you guys are on Facebook, make sure to like, make sure to watch this video. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We got Mashoon in here as well. What's up? What's up, buddy? How are you? I hope you're good. You missed Ruby Riott. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about Ruby Riott. And Janelle says, is it weird that they may do Rey Mysterio versus Roman Reigns? We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show. Absolutely. It's going to be something. I don't know if we're totally going to get that. We might get it probably just next week. That's my opinion. Maybe just next week we might get it. But we'll see. We'll absolutely see what's going to happen there. Although, you know, with WWE Creative, you can never really tell. You can never really tell what they're going to do. So without further ado, let's get into the show. And we got some stuff going on the show. And you know, someone wrote, I think it was Andrew that wrote, a little bit light on talent, and it showed. It definitely showed that we were light on talent for tonight. I mean, the Street Profits had 3 segments alone, right? Just them 3 segments. So that is, you know, that I'm not gonna say it's worrying, but I'm trying to play it safe a little bit. But we'll see. We're gonna get to all that. First off, WWE SmackDown kicked off with the Tribal Chief himself, Mr. Roman Reigns. And oh boy. So the fallout from last week was definitely something. You know, Jimmy and Roman still don't fully see eye to eye. Are they going to see eye to eye at the end of the show? Were they even seeing eye to eye? So it's definitely interesting, and we're going to get into it right away. So WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns makes his way out to the ring. Let's just pull this up right here. Whoops. Apologize. Slight technical difficulties. Here we go. We got going. And there you go. So actually, I do apologize about that. Here we go. We are live. These things happen, right? So let's do it. There you go. All right. So we got the champion come out, Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman, and you know, he says it's no secret he's the centerpiece. He's the whole thing. He runs the show, and his cousins, the Usos, while he wasn't really in favor of them, you know, of them challenge the time, well, he kind of sees it, right? He's like, if they could get the gold, he has the gold, why not? It's good for the family and everything. However, he really called them out. He flat out called them out, and he told them, look, you got to put your money where your mouth is. In other words, right? You absolutely have to do it, because if you're calling the shots, well, if you're going to call the shots, then you better deliver, right? You absolutely better deliver. And did they deliver? We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. So out came the Usos and Jimmy and Jay, and you know, they had their own little thing, and they were hyped up about the match, about you know, potentially being 7-time tag team champions. So it was an interesting thing. It was a good start to the show, very live, very lively start to the show. And right away we went to commercial break, and right after that we were getting the tag team championship match. So this was a bit of this was difficult for me to predict, right? Because such a big match, they've been hyping it up all week, and we're getting it to kick off the show. In my opinion, it was one of two ways, right? I think everyone could see it going. Either we get the Usos absolutely win and they have this whole celebration thing going, or the Usos lose, Dominic and Rey retain, and all hell breaks loose. Sorry, among the family, among the bloodline, so to speak. So we do get the match. And this is, it was a good match. It was a good start to the show. What do you guys think? Let me know. Let me know in the comments below. What do you guys think of the opening segment? I thought it was pretty good for what it was. They definitely hyped up the tag title match. Little did we know this was not the only time these two teams will be facing each other on the show tonight. So let's take a look at the chat really quickly. Gilsfan says, I wonder if Roman is annoyed with Paul. And now since he convinced him that the Uso reunion was a good idea. So I don't know if they'll be playing on that. That's a very good question, because ultimately, Roman said, I've had a week to think about it. I wasn't a big fan of the Usos challenging for the titles, but Heyman kind of talked me into it. I've had a week to really think it over, and I'm on board, right? So I don't know if eventually he'll end up blaming Paul Heyman. That'll definitely be interesting to see if it happens. Personally, I don't think so. I think he kind of just mentioned that just to throw it out there, although you never know. So that was the opening segment. Andrew says, I was surprised it started right off the bat with the tag titles. Exactly. We really got that right away. And look, the match itself wasn't bad. It was a good match. The ending was controversial. That's definitely one thing. The ending was controversial. So Dominic ends up rolling Jimmy for the 1, 2, 3. However, on the 2, you could see Jimmy's right shoulder kind of, he's up. It's off the mat. So not both shoulders are not on the mat. Jimmy's right shoulder is off it. 1, 2, 3. The Mysterios get the win. And right away, it's, no pun intended, it's acknowledged. Right away. Pat McAfee, Michael Cole, the announce team acknowledge it. Jimmy Uso's going batshit crazy. Jay gets in the ring. What's going on? What's this? What's that? And then we cut backstage. And oh boy, we cut backstage. And Roman is furious. The champ is furious. He looks at him and he tells him, get them right over. Get them to me. I want to talk to them. So he was furious. And oh boy, let's take a look at the chat here. So Jamel says, I don't think we'll get the discussion with Paul and Roman this soon. I see this family being drawn closer together, though, with Jimmy falling in line before SummerSlam. My prediction, and we're going to get to this later on in the show and next week and everything, but I feel like we're going to get Jimmy properly acknowledge him like Jay. Absolutely, I do agree with Jamel. And I think they're really going to go with this bloodline, with this whole dynasty thing, and have them take over SmackDown. And who knows, maybe even throw Nia Jax into the mix, or who knows what they're going to do. I'm not trying to give them any ideas, but it could definitely be interesting to see. Let's take a look as well. So Andrew says he kind of liked it, like real sports calling out missed calls and things. And that's something that Pat McAfee actually mentioned. He mentioned it twice. He said, what is this, the NFL? And he singled out an NFL referee, and he's like, well, what is this? It's like him. And then commercial break, we come back, and Pat McAfee's still kind of fuming over it. He's like, what is this? Is this UEFA, which is the football or soccer federation in Europe? What is this? They're missing calls. This is the WWE. We don't miss calls. So Pat McAfee definitely did a very good job hyping this. I'll be honest. Michael Cole as well, but Pat McAfee is just your ultimate. He's your ultimate hype man, right? And he delivered. He delivered big time, especially when we're going to get to the Shinsuke Nakamura and Baron Corbin thing, right? Gil's fan, there you go. That damn strippy stooge. Yes, absolutely. Jamal, I'm also curious who they pair Roman with the Hell in a Cell. With what's happening now, I think we could see a SmackDown match with Roman taking on Dominic, sort of a showcase for the kid. I would hate to see that happening, to be honest. I think Roman absolutely demolishes him. I really think he would just destroy him if that were the case, if they were to do that. And I don't think Dominic is ready just yet. My guess is next week we get Dominic or Rey up against Roman Reigns. And I think we get Jimmy versus Roman at Hell in a Cell. Now, some of you might think, wait, that's maybe a little bit too early. Maybe they have it. Maybe you guys are right, because there's still another pay-per-view before SummerSlam, so maybe they have it there. Who knows? But my guess is I think we get Jimmy and Roman at Hell in a Cell. And there you go. So as well, Andrew says we might get it at Money in the Bank, if not sooner, at Hell in a Cell. So it definitely is a possibility. Gil's fan, I think it could be Jimmy versus Roman in an I Quit match at Hell in a Cell, same as last year. Yeah, kind of going, coming full circle type of thing, right? It was Jay and Roman last year at Hell in a Cell. This year it's Jimmy and Roman. So absolutely, just to bring it all home and complete it. So Jamel's talking about, Dominic versus Roman, similar to how Bret Hart took on the 1, 2, 3 Kid or X-Pac on, I think it was the 1993, was it 93 or 94 edition of Raw, of an episode of Raw. So who knows, man? Who knows? It is possible that they do that. For the time being, I'm not personally behind it. I'm really not personally behind it. However, Andrew says Ray versus Roman next week, then the SmackDown before Hell in a Cell, it's Roman versus Dominic. That's also a possibility. It could be, right? We could have Roman against one of them next week, Roman versus one of them the week after, and then ultimately we have Roman versus Jimmy at Hell in a Cell. It is definitely a possibility. All right. After that, we cut backstage, and Roman's backstage with the Usos, and he is not happy, right? He's fuming. He's essentially telling them, you guys lost to a child. You lost to a kid. You lost to a child. How is this? You said you were going to go do something, and you did not do it. You embarrassed me. You embarrassed the family. You embarrassed us all, and everything. And then, and then Roman says something, and it fit the Roman Reigns character, and it fit what he said last week. He looked at Jey Uso, and he called him Jimmy. So Roman looked at Jay, he called him Jimmy, and Jay looks at him, he's like, cuz Us, like I'm Jay, I'm not Jimmy. And then Roman looks at him and tells him, at this rate, what is it like? What does it change? What does it even matter? Because you guys are going back to being irrelevant. And he called him out. He said, you guys are 6-time tag team champions, and you've only been on WrestleMania once. Whereas Jay was with me with the head of the table, with the tribal chief for less than a year, and he's at WrestleMania holding his head up high. So stellar work by Roman Reigns, absolutely solid. We've become accustomed to hearing that and to seeing it every single week now. And Andrew, yeah, there you go. So Andrew Elder thought it was interesting. He called Jay by Jimmy. They're definitely going down that road. And we'll see what gives. We'll definitely see what gives. And this was not the last time that we would get Roman versus the Usos. Next up, oh boy. Next up was Kayla Braxton backstage. Kayla's backstage with Seth Rollins. And we do have some breaking news. Okay, wait a minute. We got some breaking news coming in right now. Andrew's saying breaking news, while not WWE or SmackDown news, Andrade has just signed with AEW. Wow. I mean, I'll say that was kind of expected, but this is definitely some breaking news. Absolutely. Interesting to see. I'm assuming it was mentioned on Dynamite or maybe on Twitter or something, but we'll see what happens with that. That's little side note. AEW definitely has to watch out, because if they're going to start signing every single superstar, every single wrestler that the WWE releases, they're going to have every wrestler under the sun pretty much. So they got to watch out. Obviously rumors of the Iconics going there, Lana, right? The whole Rusev Lana connection, and now Andrade. So yeah. Jamel, it's cool. Yeah. Are we shocked? No. Yeah, I'm not shocked, but it is cool. It is cool. And at the end of the day, it is breaking news, right? So let's take a look. All right, so it was reported. All right, so back to SmackDown, right? Back to this show, back to the main show. Back to this one here. So Seth Rollins and Kayla are backstage. It was a short promo, thankfully, a short promo. Seth very pompous, right? Kayla's asking him a question, and he kind of refuses to answer. He tells her, look, I don't owe you nor the WWE Universe anything. I don't owe you my time, nor do I even owe you an answer to the question that you're about to ask. So Kayla asks him a question about Cesaro, why he attacked him, what he thinks is going to happen when Cesaro gets back. And Seth, wearing, one of the ugliest suits you'll ever see in your life, slowly, he has a microphone here, and he kind of like slowly takes it off, and he looks at it and examines it and everything. And then just as he's about to hand it over to Kayla, he just kind of flicks it at her and throws it at her. And, she looks at him and says, well, thank you. And that's the end of that. So we're not done yet with Seth Rollins nor Cesaro. They're definitely playing off that Cesaro injury. It's been about 2 weeks now that we haven't seen him, right, since Seth Rollins attacked him and hit him with the curb stomp twice. So they're playing off that injury. All things considered, my guess is as good as yours, and I think you guys will agree. We're probably going to get Seth versus Cesaro at Hell in a Cell. Let's take a look here. So Gilsfan says Seth's suit wasn't quite as offensive this week. Yeah, maybe it's still one of the ugliest suits though, but he's definitely had worse. Absolutely. Andrew, which if he triggered me, then he did his job. Good job, Seth. Yeah, and that's the whole heel character, right? Be it Seth or anyone else. If they could kind of get under your skin and trigger you and annoy you, they're doing a good job. They're definitely doing a good job. And it's one of those things where, he annoys you, but he annoys you because he's doing his job correctly, and not that he's annoying you just because, he's horrible to watch, right? Because if we're being honest, or if I'm being honest anyways, I don't find Seth horrible to watch, right? He's had some shitty characters before, the whole savior thing. That annoyed me. And that annoyed me not because Seth was doing a bad job. It just annoyed me because the character was bad. This new or slightly new direction they're going with Seth, still slightly annoying, but it's a good type of annoying, right? It's like it's his character being annoying and not the actual writing of it and all of it just being bad. Jamel says, I'm guessing Cesaro returns next week, setting up the Hell in a Cell grudge match. And that's going to be absolutely interesting to see what they do with that. Because if Seth gets the win at Hell in a Cell versus Cesaro, assuming the match happens, but if Seth gets the win, then we're going to get a third match, possibly at Money in the Bank. However, if Cesaro gets the win, then he's up 2-0 against Seth, right? In big matches, he's up 2-0. Now it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do with Cesaro? Are you going to throw him back against Roman Reigns? Because it doesn't look like it. It really doesn't look. It does not look like it. But are they going to go down that road? Are they going to do that, or are they going to do something else? What do you guys think? Let me know. I'm just going to take a little sip. This is water in here. It's not even coffee nor alcohol. It's just some water. Grab a sip. What do you guys think? Let me know. All right. So Andrew, all right. So Andrew says, would be interesting if both are in the Money in the Bank match. That would be cool. That would be cool. See, I know we're kind of booking or early booking or talking way ahead here, but Money in the Bank, if you have Cesaro, Seth, Nakamura, Corbin, if you could get at least those four guys in that match, those are four guys that could really use the Money in the Bank title or briefcase, sorry. There are four guys that could really use it. Nakamura, we're going to get to in a moment. Same thing for Corbin, so I'll leave that for a couple of minutes. But hey, if Cesaro could get it, that could be cool. Seth could be extremely annoying with it, especially considering his history with the actual briefcase. So who knows what they're going to do, but absolutely could be fun to see building up. All right. After that, we got the Street Profits. And I'm on the fence with this whole thing. And because you have the Street Profits who are backstage, and then in comes Chad Gable, and he tells them, it wasn't a bad promo, by the way. So Street Profits are backstage. Gable says, look, I've been scouting you guys. I've been watching your videos. Ford, you've lost a couple of inches off your frog splash lately. You guys aren't doing too well. Why don't you join the Alpha Academy? Essentially, they laugh at him and they tell him no, bye, and they leave. So that was one of three. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this promo or on this segment because we got this two more times later on before the end of the show. So they planted the seed for the Street Profits versus Chad Gable and Otis, the Alpha Academy. Let's take a look here. So Gilsfan says, Money in the Bank holders constantly lose, so Zayn would be a perfect fit for it. Possible. Not a bad idea. It would fit the whole, conspiracy theory. I'm sure they could do something with it. The only question is, what are they actually, like, what's the payoff with this conspiracy theory thing? What is it? It's been several months. It's been 6 months now. It's been half a year, if not more, that they're literally doing this whole conspiracy stuff. Something's got to give. I'm all for dragging on storylines and building up characters. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. But at the end of the day, something like this, it needs to be a big, big payoff. And looking at WWE's track record, not too confident about this. Not too confident at all. Regarding the tag team division, Andrew says, like I said, light on talent. It really shows on the tag division and the women. Absolutely. And we're going to talk about the roster cuts at the end of this. All. I want your opinions. But before that, guys, make sure to like. Please make sure to subscribe. We're here several times a week. If you're new to the show, welcome. If you're coming back, thank you. Definitely, but leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. What you guys think of SmackDown? What do you guys think of this of the tag team division of Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief? What do you think is going to happen going into Hell in a Cell? Absolutely, let me know. Leave a comment. And if you're watching us back on YouTube on playback, thank you guys. Literally, really. All right, Gil's fan. Perhaps Vince appears and tells him he was right all along. So regarding the Sami Zayn character, maybe Vince pops in and be like, and tells him, you know what? Yeah, you're right. This was a whole conspiracy thing against you, which probably would not be the worst thing that they would do, because I feel like the payoff, I think, is going to be much worse than that. All right, going back into the show. Going back to the show here. So we had the Usos who were backstage with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, and they're like, look, you guys saw it. We got robbed. We got cheated. Jimmy's shoulder was not down. Essentially, they're asking for a rematch. Pearce and Deville tell them, look, we'll see what we can do. We'll watch the match again. We'll watch the ending. We'll see what we decide on. And when we decide, we'll let you know. So obviously, this really set the table for the main event being the rematch, pretty much. We were just kind of waiting for the confirmation of it all. Then we got our first and only women's match, and literally our only women's match of the night. Carmella versus a feisty, very, very feisty Liv Morgan, who is no longer in a tag team. Right? Ruby Riott got released a couple of days ago, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit. So we got a feisty Liv Morgan up against Carmella. But before that, Andrew says, like and subscribe and acknowledge Roy, or we'll lock you in a room with Sasha Banks. Some might enjoy that, Andrew. I don't know. I'm just saying. I wouldn't. I would not. Some might. So who knows? Jamel says, tag team division is thin as hell. It really is. It really, really is. Gil's fan. Sonya obviously stops Adam Pearce from looking at his phone with a confused face. It's very disappointing. Yeah, we've gotten that. We got that for several months where he's just on his phone like this, and then someone comes in and he's just dazed and confused. Jamel with a little knock right there. He says, only one women's match. Very Dynamite-ish from SmackDown. Ooh, taking a swipe. I like it, Jamel. And Gillsman says, well, at least Ruby didn't have to watch her partner get beat in 2 minutes. Well, and we're going to talk a little bit about Liv right here. And before we do, so Andrew says, Liv's promo wasn't great. Also with her ripping her shirt off, did she think that she was at a strip club? Look, I get what they're, or I think I get what they're trying to do with Liv Morgan. It just feels like they've taken this Liv Morgan character and they've thrown it around a bunch of different places throughout the years. They had her as part of the Riot Squad. Then they had her seducing someone in a bathtub, right? That whole weird thing that they had going on, which later eventually became Carmella's character. And now they have her as this, feisty character coming out and ripping her shirt off and all that stuff. With that said, and if we're being honest, this was not the worst match in the world, and I'm very surprised that Liv actually got some offense in, because usually these matches end with she gets 2 right hands at the start of the match, and then she just gets squashed in 1, 2, 3. This was the opposite. This was her actually, dominating for the first minute or two, getting some offense in, throwing Carmella into the barricade twice, slamming her into the ring apron, and then ultimately just switched. And Carmella got her to tap out, so Carmella was the win. So got the win. So the match wasn't bad, but the women's division is very thin, right? I think everyone has mentioned this forever now. The women's division is very thin, and while I'm a fan, I'm an advocate of both these women getting airtime. I tweeted this out, and I stand by it. I'm all for them getting airtime, but can the WWE please, please stop booking two characters, male or female, doesn't matter. Stop booking two characters in a match where neither person can afford to lose. Because you're still kind of possibly building Carmella up, so you cannot afford to have her lose. And then you're throwing this in-your-face Liv Morgan, who's clearly had a change of attitude. You're throwing her in there, and you can't afford to have her lose. Yet you have her tap out. And that's where the booking for me doesn't make sense. Again, I'm all for them getting airtime and getting match time, and I'm all for that. What I'm completely against, is throwing two people in there that cannot afford to lose. That's my problem. Let's take a look at the chat. Daniel Hayes, how many jerseys do you have? A lot. A lot. Well over 25 in the 30s. So sign up if you guys are talking about this. I have a lot. Let's take a look. Continuing on, Jamel says, I know I say this a lot, but Liv either needs to head back to NXT or NXT UK. She needs a change of environment and some space from the previous stuff she's done. You know what? That's not a terrible idea. That's a very good idea. Liv in NXT is probably her more in her element. Absolutely. Because when you look at the women's division, if you look at Charlotte, if you look at Asuka, if you look at Nia, Shayna, Rhea Ripley, right? If you look at those five and you throw in Liv Morgan kind of looks like the odd person out. And I'm not talking about size, she's smaller than all of them. No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about character-wise, what they're doing with her and everything, what she's accomplished versus what the rest have accomplished. It's not the same. So I fully agree. We absolutely throw her back in NXT. Have her do something for sure. Gills fan going solo. He makes it sound like it was Liv's choice. I don't know how they're going to play this. Absolutely. And Andrew says, got to be honest, I'm acknowledging the talent release to an extent was interesting. And it was funny because as Liv Morgan was coming out, I'm like, there's no way they're going to, mention this even very subtly. But they kind of did. And Andrew, well, Roy, they don't have enough talent to avoid it now, for sure. Daniel says, so money isn't money. See, are they still doing the Carmella as money, or are they still doing the seductive Carmella? Because we're clearly getting the seductive Carmella, but at the same time, sometimes you get that vibe of Mella is money. So how are they doing with that? What are they doing? Jamel, yes, exactly. We need jobbers. Stop having named folks take these L's on TV. Hire local talent to feed these people. What happened to people like the Brooklyn Brawler, right, in the early 90s? Or getting local talent. Now, I understand local talent now is very difficult. COVID and the Thunderdome and all that. I get it. But when they're back on the road, although with COVID, I could imagine it would be very difficult. But get local talent. Do something to put the talent over. To get your talent over. Daniel says, I didn't watch, obviously, so I'm guessing the women's division, both Raw and SmackDown, complete shit. Calling it complete shit is an understatement. Literally. Calling it complete shit is a complete understatement in and of itself. The women's division, I guess it's been a couple of minutes now that we're talking about this. The women's division on both shows is horrendous. It's horrendous. And I know people love to attack Charlotte. Charlotte is, I'll say arguably the best thing in the women's division. Rhea Ripley has been a massive disappointment. Whether that's on her or not is irrelevant. But she's been a disappointment. Asuka carried the entire women's division last year in the Performance Center era. Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler are no longer tag team champions. So, they're having flames bursting in their faces. Well, what the hell is that all about? You have Carmella, who Mella is money, but at the same time is sexy. It doesn't make sense. And And exactly, Gills fan. There you go. The Tron video had Mela and Money, which surprised you. Andrew used to have local talent in cities to the jobbers for the stars. That's what Superstars and Challenge was all on the show. Maybe one marquee matchup, but the rest was jobbers. Exactly. You used to have like, what was it? Shotgun Saturday Night and Sunday Night Heat and Velocity and all these shows. And now it's like, yeah, you have main event, WWE main event, but it's not local talent. It's talent versus talent. And it's not working. It's not working. We got Jorge Oliva. Hola, mi hermano. Do you see in the near future WWE unifying the Women's Championship in order to make the division stronger? Man, I hope so. I truly hope so. If they could combine, or if they could unify the women's division and the tag team titles, that would go a long way in helping them in restructuring the divisions. The talent pool that the women have for the women's isn't as high as it was a couple of years ago. And if we're being honest, we know how Vince is, we know how WWE is, we know how creative is. The high or the focus will always be on the men's rather than the women's. Okay, it's how it is. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's how it is. So if you know that you have a thin women's division, unify them. Same thing for the tag titles right now. I don't even know who the tag champs are on Raw. Is it still AJ and Omos? Is it still them? I have no clue. You know, combine both. Do something. Do something. Daniel says you have more crap than potential, and the brand split. That is all. Absolutely. Absolutely. Here we go. So WWE needs a full-on reboot with Raw and SmackDown, unify all the belts except United States and IC titles. Yes. Yes, yes. All right, enough of this women's stuff, please, because we're going to continue it, but with something else. So we got Bianca Bel-Air, who came out, and, you know, she got a promo about how she's always had people doubt her and tried to putting her down and all that stuff throughout her entire life. Ever since she was 3 feet tall, people always, tried to put her down and everything. And she left them all away, and she ended up winning trophies and championships and all that stuff. And she says, but I never had someone literally laugh in my face like Bayley, right? She said, no one. And she challenged Bayley to a match. And I was hoping, and I think Andrew as well, and I think others as well, but I was kind of hoping, or even kind of expecting, I was expecting a hair versus hair stipulation. That's not what we got, which is fine. That's cool. I'm not angry about that. I'm not angry about it at all. And there you go. Even Andrew as well. He says, I was hoping for the hair versus hair. Guess we're dropping that. It's okay. So Bianca challenges Bayley to a match at Hell in a Cell. Now, it's not a Hell in a Cell match, at least not yet. But she does challenge Bayley to a match at Hell in a Cell for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley, obviously, before she accepts, so Bianca's in the ring. She's looking for Bayley. Where's Bayley? Well, what are you going to accept? And all that stuff. And then we hear Bayley's laugh throughout the entire Thunderdome. And then she shows up on screen and she's like, dummy, I'm here through satellite. I'm here in my own oasis. And she's sitting down on this couch and she has a bunch of pictures of herself, as the champion surrounding the wall. Similar to, I guess, the jerseys here, but like fully plastered on, which was cool. It was funny. It fits the Bayley character. And she accepts. So Bayley accepts Bianca's challenge, and she said, after I beat you at Hell in a Cell, I'm going to be laughing, and not just me, but everyone's going to be laughing at you. And then the entire LED boards surrounding the ring switch. It's no longer the fans. They switch to Bayley. So you have like 1,000 Baileys all across the screens. It's her face and it's her laughing. And so there you go. So Gil's fan says, broken Bayley, Matt Hardy wants his gimmick back. As long as they don't make this a thing, I'm fine with it. If this is a one-off, I'm cool. I'm absolutely cool with it if it's a one-off. If it becomes a thing, it could be annoying, but we'll see. We'll see. Jamel says, Nana, hair versus hair should happen in front of people. SummerSlam or Money in the Bank would be the perfect spot. Personally, I would say they're going to leave it till SummerSlam. I just don't know how they could drag this on for another 2 months. But that's just me. But I agree. I think this should be at SummerSlam. Jorge says, I can see Bayley going bald. Many storylines can be written there. Absolutely. Absolutely. Daniel kind of showing his fetish, I guess. He says Bayley might be even hotter bald. Jamal, I'm just kidding, by the way. I'm just kidding, Daniel. But Jamal says, bald Bayley needs to be in front of a paying audience. SummerSlam Money in the Bank. Yep. And Andrew Bayley could pull a bald look. We might have to wait and see. All right. After that, we got Shinsuke Nakamura versus King Corbin. And we got Rick Boogs, who came out playing the guitar once more as Nakamura was introduced to the ring. Look, sorry, I'm just gonna laugh for a second. So Daniel, I'm just messing with you, Daniel. Sorry, I'm just messing with you, buddy. To each their own, literally to each their own. Andrew, no, I'm not shaming at all. I'm just a light jab. I'm just kidding around, honestly, just kidding around. And Rick Boogs, yes. So Rick and the Crown is exactly what Nakamura needed, because Nakamura was just he was in a limbo, right? He had no idea what they were doing with him. He'd win one match, he'd lose 10, and win one and lose 10. But since they got Rick with him, hyping him up, having the Crown, having Pat McAfee, on commentary, freaking out and stuff like that, it's added a lot to his character. With that said, and I'm enjoying this character, I'm liking this feud, but we cannot have Shinsuke Nakamura versus King Corbin every single week on SmackDown, because it's ridiculous at this point. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't care who wins. I don't care if it's Nakamura. I don't care if it's Corbin. You can't have the same freaking match every single week. You can't. At one point, it's like, this is ridiculous. It makes no sense. Anyways, Corbin gets the win cleanly gets the win, grabs his crown. He's caught up by Rick. He kind of catches him and blocks him. Nakamura attacks him. Nakamura grabs the crown, wears it, and he ends up leaving with the crown. And here we go. So Jamal says they need to blow off Nakamura versus Corbin and keep them apart, and they need to do it ASAP. It's every single week. It's literally that. Exactly. It's every single week. Gil's fan, Pat forgetting he's a heel makes the Nakamura act even better, for sure. McAfee adds to the Nakamura character. And McAfee's doing a tremendous job, by the way, on commentary. He really is. He really, really is. Jorge says, I would have Corbin win back the crown, only to be taken away from him to start off a new King of the Ring tournament. And this is what I don't get. You have this. Why not have a King of the Ring tournament? Sorry. Why not have that tournament? If they're going to actually do it in front of fans and they're waiting to do it, fine, I accept. But you're literally having a feud regarding a crown, and you have not had a King of the Ring tournament in about 2 years. Like, it's there. You're making it up as you have it. How are you not seeing or knowing that, hey, you're actually building to a potential King of the Ring tournament? Why don't you do it? It boggles the mind sometimes. It absolutely does. Jamel, either at Hell in a Cell or SmackDown, around it, have them have a match for the King of the Ring and end the feud. It's that simple. If you're not going to have a King of the Ring tournament, have a match for it. Have a match for it. Daniel says Corbin's still a thing. He is. He is. This Corbin character for the past year, since he feuded with Roman Reigns, he's just been there. Literally, he's just been there. They had him feud with Dominic. They had him do some weird stuff. Now they have him with Nakamura, which is probably the best feud he's had in a year, but they're having them wrestle every single week. So go figure. Go figure. Anyways, up next, we have the Intercontinental title match. But before that, Kevin Owens is walking backstage, and he gets attacked by Commander Aziz. Why? Because Commander Aziz is banned from ringside for the match. So Kevin Owens absolutely gets his ass kicked backstage. We cut to commercial break. Cruz is in the ring. Kevin Owens coming out, clearly in pain, holding his ribs, and they end up playing off that the entire match. So the entire match is Kevin Owens, holding his ribs, in pain. Apollo Crews attacking the ribs, playing to it. So some good storytelling in the match, some very good storytelling. I'm not knocking it by any means. Apollo came off looking really solid out there. Kevin Owens sold very well, but Owens always sells well, in my opinion. It was essentially 80-85% of Apollo Crews just absolutely dominating the match. And in the end, he wins cleanly. He knocks Kevin Owens out. 1, 2, 3 gets the pin, and that's it. He gets the pin. He gets the win. He retains. We have a champion who actually looks solid out there in Apollo Crews. But then after the match, we get Sami Zayn who comes out and attacks Kevin Owens and hits him with the haluva kick. So that feud is still going on. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, because while Apollo Crews is no longer feuding with Kevin Owens, which in my opinion is a good thing, because I did not want this to drag on for too long, the other side of the coin is we're getting Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn again. And look, I mentioned it at the start of the show, and I guess this is as good a time as any to kind of elaborate on it. I feel like the WWE are trying to play it safe. They're trying to go with storylines that they know could bring out decent matches up until they get the fans back. I don't think they want to have a huge blow-off or huge payoff now and not have it in front of fans, right? Like, they're so close to having fans back, they don't want to do it now. They want to have fans again, and I get it, but there's only so many times we can get Corbin and Nakamura. There's only so many times we can get this Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn feud. Like, it gets redundant. It really does. They got to change it up. And so here you go. So Andrew says Mayor McCheese or Commander Aziz versus Kevin Owens could be a thing. And I agree with this one right here. Kevin Owens' stock has dropped. He has. So he had a good feud with Roman Reigns, despite the fact that Owens essentially got his ass kicked every single week throughout that feud. He had a decent feud with Roman Reigns. That was cool. But other than that, he's kind of been there, former world champion on Raw and everything. And he, again, I don't know if it's just WWE kind of waiting to have fans again until they figure out, okay, well, we're going to completely change the landscape and go with something new. I'm not sure what it is, but I fully agree with that statement. Not good at all. Absolutely. And Daniel mentions it as well. He says Kevin Owens sure did drop after his Roman feud. Gil's fan, it amused me seeing referees holding Aziz back while he was just saluting Cruz. It's WWE. I guess with Black gone, then Big E goes back to the Intercontinental title picture. I think that's what we're going to get. I think we're going to get Big E and Apollo Crews feuding again. And I think we get Big E winning the title back, but with fans in attendance. That's my guess. And hey, I guess this is the general feeling regarding Kevin Owens. Jamel says Kevin Owens eating L's like he's Bray Wyatt. Oof. That's rough. And Gil's fan, Kevin Owens might have got the biggest reaction at WrestleMania. Cooling him off is a bad idea. And Kevin Owens to Raw sounds good right now, says Daniel. They got to figure something out for Kevin Owens. They definitely do, because it's not looking good for him. Not looking good for him at all. All right. After this, so we got a second and a third Street Profits promo. The second one involved Otis showing up, and he's like, I didn't appreciate what you guys said to Chad Gable. And they kind of tell him, look at yourself since you aligned yourself with Gable. What's happened? Nothing. You should leave. Otis beats them up and he leaves, and then we get a third promo from the Street Profits, kind of challenging them to a match, and then it becomes official. So next week, we do have a match for next week. It's the Street Profits versus the Alpha Academy. Hey, they're trying to do something with the tag team division. Great. And then it's the main event. It is the main event. It's a rematch. So we're ending this show the same way we kicked things off, which is SmackDown Tag Team titles. And again, wasn't a bad match. And we're going to get, so I see Jamel writing some stuff about tag teams, and we're going to get to that in just a second. Actually, you know what? We'll get to it now. So here we go. So Andrew says, wow, an Academy versus Profits feud, that's what happens when talent is low. Oh, yeah. And to even kind of add to that, Jamel says, remember Heavy Machinery? That was a fun act. And Gil's fan says, the Street Profits were nowhere near as over the top with their promos tonight. Yeah, their delivery just kind of fell flat. I agree with that. It wasn't the usual energy or usual promo that you would get from the Street Profits. So it did, it was a little bit fell a bit low for sure. And Gills fan says, we are not allowed to acknowledge real tag teams. Yeah, no, we're not. No. And Daniel, all right, now it's time for the main event. The main event, which is a rematch. And Daniel says, wow, a rematch, you don't say. Right? You don't say. Yes, we get a rematch. And look, not a bad match. All four guys really tried out there tonight, busted their ass. So I'm not hating on the match, and I'm not going to hate on the match. The ending was, I'll be honest, the ending for me was surprising. I was not expecting Roman Reigns to interfere. I really wasn't. I thought we were going to get a clean win by the Mysterios. I really was. I was expecting the Mysterios to get a win. Not the case. Instead, we had Roman Reigns come out and attack Dominic and Rey Mysterio. So the referee calls for the bell, and we still have tag team champions, the Mysterios. So that was a surprise finish for me. And then we just had Roman Reigns go apeshit, and he throws Dominic and Rey. He throws them into the barricade. He throws Rey over the barricade, hits them with the steel steps. Then he throws Dominic in the ring, and he just beats the shit out of him. He gets him in the guillotine, and then while Roman has Dominic in the guillotine, Jimmy tells him, this is enough. It's enough. Stop. You don't have to do this. Stop. Roman lets him go. Jimmy leaves the ring, and this is where they're about to cut it off. So Jimmy leaves the ring, and he tells Jay, hey, let's go. And you see Jay, Jay's walking to the ropes. He's about to leave. And then Roman kind of gets in his face, and he doesn't say a word. He just gets in his face. Jay stops, not walking anymore. Roman turns around, continues his attack on Dominic, and that's the end of SmackDown. So we don't know, did Jay leave the ring? Did he end up staying in the ring? Because he was about to leave the ring before Roman got in his face. So they're definitely building Hell in a Cell, in my opinion, to have Roman Reigns against Jimmy Uso. That's what I think. Jorge asks, absolutely, yeah. He says, so do you think it's Jimmy versus Roman at Hell in a Cell? The way they're booking this, and the way they continue to book this, which, by the way, I think is very good. I think it's clear that we're going to get Jimmy versus Roman at Hell in a Cell. I think next week we're going to get Roman versus Rey or Roman versus Dominic or something of the sort. But I think Hell in a Cell, oh yeah, it's Roman versus Jimmy. I really think so. Daniel says Roman has carried WWE. He's definitely been a bright spot. Absolutely been a bright spot. All right, so here we go. So Gilfan says, usually they have the world champion beat the tag champs in a handicap match, so it could have been worse for the Mysterios. I fear that's what they're going to do next week. I really, really fear that we're going to get Roman Reigns in a handicap match against the SmackDown Tag Team Champions next week, and Roman wins. And Roman wins cleanly. That's what I fear. And Andrew, there you go. Yeah, Andrew says, this is what happens when they don't manage time right. We're left hanging. Jamel, I think we might get a cluster for the tag belt, at Hell in a Cell. Oh, boy. And to add to it, so Jamal says, Street Profits versus Alpha Academy versus Legado del Misterio. Hey, don't give them any ideas, please, Jamal. Please. Don't give them any ideas. All right. What do you guys think of SmackDown? We're not done yet, though. We're still going to talk about the roster cuts. But what do you guys think of SmackDown? I thought the ending was surprising, like I said, but I think overall, not a bad show. Overall. However, and I tweeted this, and I'm going to read my tweet. I said, not a bad show, as we got 3 championship matches, some decent promos, and another Nakamura and Corbin match. We had 3 segments involving the Street Profits, no Shayna or Nia Jax, no Big E again, and I'll even add to it, no Dolph or Robert Roode. And you can tell they want to play it safe until fans are back. That's what I think. I really, really think they're trying to play it safe and not really change things up before fans get back. Jamel asks, there you go. Jamel says, also where were Roode and Ziggler? I don't know. And Gilsfan mentions how Roman has not wrestled on SmackDown in months. Jorge has a different thing. He says, I think they will do a reverse match from Jay versus Roman where Jimmy, quits for his brother. This time Jay will not quit for his brother. And then the eventual Jay versus Jimmy match. Ooh, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea, right? So Roman versus Jimmy. Roman's absolutely beating the shit out of Jimmy, and Jay doesn't surrender, and that builds up Jay versus Jimmy. Could happen, but they'll be destroying yet another tag team. Oh boy, and I'm not sure that's a good idea. As for the show, Andrew, SmackDown was good. 2 hours is good. Light on talent though, yes, and we're gonna talk about this in just a minute. Andrew, no women's tag titles. All right. So Gills fan says thumbs down. Not enough interesting segments this week. I won't disagree. I feel like if there was one show recently that you could give a thumbs down to, it would be tonight's episode. It would. This is really close. I gave it a thumbs up just because I get what they're trying to do, and it was interesting. There were some surprises and stuff like that. Surprises in terms of the finish to the matches, that is. But there was nothing that really stood out. Like there was nothing on the show tonight where I'm watching like, wow, like that promo is must watch, or that match is must watch, or that move is like a must watch. So I get it. I get the thumbs down in this point. Absolutely. And Andrew says, do we even have any women tag teams on SmackDown anymore? The better question is, outside of the champs, do we even have any women's tag teams, period, on Raw or SmackDown? And Jamel, thumbs in the middle, not thumbs down because of the light talent. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it, and then for sure. Jorge says, let's see. He says, good show. Spanish announce team was on it. They always sound like every move is awesome. I've never heard. See, this is crazy. I've been watching WWE essentially my entire life. I've never watched it or listened to it with Spanish commentary. I do have to try it one day, though. I really want to try it one day just to see how it sounds. Gills fan, Natty Tamina and Mandy Dana are the only teams left. Oof. Oh, boy. Yeah, that's not good. Mashoon, thumbs up in a slight way. So it was close. It was definitely close. Absolutely. I get that. Jamel says, I have a feeling the next few weeks are going to be rough, even for SmackDown. They seem to be spinning their wheels until they are able to bring people back in the audience. Yes, and I agree with that. It's kind of been the theme, something that I've mentioned, something that we've spoken about in the chat as well tonight. Feels like they're just trying to buy time until fans are back, and then, all right, we're going to change it up completely and everything. Personally speaking, I'm expecting big changes and big things to happen when the fans are back in the arenas. I think it's going to be a much better show. Just the fact that you're going to have fans back, it just adds to it. But I believe it's going to change it up. It's going to get better. Daniel, yes, please like and subscribe. We have one more segment left on the show, but absolutely, guys, like, subscribe, share. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're everywhere. We're here 2-3 times a week, sometimes even 4, if you could even tolerate that. It's a lot of wrestling, I know, but we're here, we're doing it. It's fun. We love the interaction. So definitely like, I was going to say love, but like and subscribe. Gills fan says, I'd listen to Spanish commentary if Pat McAfee did it. Oh, yes. And I see some people now. So the talk is definitely about the talent. Let's talk about the talent. Let's talk about this. So Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Murphy, Ruby Riott, Santana Garrett, all released a couple of days ago. So this was a big one. Braun Strowman for me was a shocker. I think it shocked pretty much everyone. Although, and I spoke about this with Mike, by the way, our video's on YouTube. Go back and watch it. Mike and I discussed this. It was literally like instant reaction. As soon as the news came out, we jumped on YouTube. So our video is there. Our live reactions are there. Now, I've had a couple of days to think about this, and I don't think we're going to get Braun Strowman in AEW anytime soon. I don't think so. I think he's someone that, like, I follow him on Instagram, so I see his posts and stuff like that. And you could tell he has other focuses. He has other hobbies, which is cool and it's great to see. Obviously he has the body, the muscle man background. That's cool. He's heavily into cars and projects and stuff like that, and hunting. So I could see him mentally taking a break from wrestling for a while. So for all those, I think he's going to go to AEW. I don't see it personally. What do you guys think? Let me know. Let me know. I don't think so. I don't think so. And in retrospect, is it shocking that he got released? Yes, absolutely, for sure. But if you look at what they've been doing with him lately, yes, they had him, in the main event of the pay-per-view Backlash for the world title. For sure, that's a big thing. But that aside, they've been kind of messing around with Braun Strowman, not in a good way, for several months. And maybe he just got sick of it. I don't know. I don't know if he asked for his release or if it was a mutual thing. Who knows? But if you look at the last year of Braun Strowman, yes, he was champion last year. Wasn't the best champion. That's not on him, obviously. But since he lost that title, they didn't do much with him. They did not do much with him. Taking a look, Jorge says, Braun is actually not a surprise. WWE got rid of $1 million contract for now, and Omos is the new big man. Yes. All right. Like I don't know what they're gonna do with Omos. I don't know. It's like this guy's on Raw 1 week and disappears for 2 months. That's the problem. Andrew Braun should go to Impact or NWA if he still wants to wrestle in the future. Oof. I think that would be the worst thing for him, to be honest. Just because not in terms of NWA, but him and Impact, I don't see him as a good fit, to be honest. I really don't. I really don't. We have Mr. Monday Nights, Mike Tedesco. He says, I think Braun is perfect for New Japan Pro Wrestling. He would be an attraction. Definitely. I don't know if he'd be on the same level as like a Brock Lesnar from when Lesnar went to New Japan Pro Wrestling all those years ago, but he'd definitely be an attraction for sure. For sure, Mike. Absolutely. And then here we go. And Daniel says, Braun needs to focus on him. I hope he gets well. Mental health issues are a bitch. This could be good for him to stay for a while. Yeah, I think he needs the break. I think he wants the break for sure. The other big name, Aleister Black. So, Mike, Aleister Black can go to AEW, but they can't even find reasons to put Pac on TV, and he's just as good as Black. Look, and I know we kind of mentioned it. Mike and I kind of mentioned it as well, at least off the air. They've got to watch out. AEW has to watch out. They can't sign every single guy. They can't sign Braun. They can't sign Aleister Black and every single guy that gets released from WWE. It's too much. It's really, really too much. And according to the chat, Andrade signed with AEW earlier tonight. I haven't checked it. I haven't seen it, but apparently that's what's going on. The other thing as well, Jamal says Black is weird because he literally just came back and they had him in the Intercontinental title match. They had him interfere. So this really came out of nowhere. Literally came out of nowhere with this one. This one made no sense to me at all. Let's take a look at the chat as well. All right. So Andrew, I'd like to talk about Roy, about Black. The dark character stuff wasn't good for Fox. So this is another thing. Maybe because this is something we mentioned on the SmackDown show several times already. We said maybe the Aleister Black character is not made for SmackDown. And maybe because they have The Fiend and Alexa Bliss on Raw, maybe they don't want to fit another darkish or dark character on the show. So they had nothing for Black and they released them. Maybe. The other release, and Jamal kind of just mentioned it here. He says, I honestly am stunned that Lana stuck around as long as she did. She can hang out with Miro and be his manager minus her Russian accent. And that was a mess with Lana. Not just at the end, right, where she was going through a table every single week, getting Samoan dropped. But just in general, like when she was with Rusev, she had the accent, didn't have it. That was a mess. Out of everyone that got released, and I'm going to bring up the names once more right here, out of all the talent here, Braun, Aleister, Lana, Murphy, Ruby, and Garrett, I think the safest bet is Lana going to AEW. I think that's the safest bet, in my opinion. The other one is Murphy. Oh, so the last time we technically saw Murphy in a feud was what? Him and Aaliyah Mysterio and Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins, that whole mess. Unless he was on 205 Live or WWE Main Event, I'll be honest, I don't watch those shows. Unless he's been on those shows, they haven't done anything with him for months. And Murphy, and look, I hate seeing anyone lose their job. if I'm being honest, I'm surprised Murphy lasted in the WWE as long as he did. I could see him maybe Impact. I don't know if like New Japan Pro Wrestling or something. I don't know. But I'm surprised he lasted in WWE as long as he did. Here we go. So Mike, there you go. Great minds think alike. Mike says Murphy is New Japan Pro Wrestling all the way. Close to Australia too. So I guess, yeah, less traveling, especially with COVID now, which is obviously very difficult for everyone pretty much. But yeah, Murphy could be New Japan Pro Wrestling bound. Definitely. For me, it's Impact or New Japan. I don't see him NWA or even AEW. I think he steers hell away. Andrew says, I'd say Ring of Honor, but it's a dumpster fire. Sorry, I can't even speak anymore. Mike, New Japan Pro Wrestling is in the toilet in terms of attendance and interest. Pandemic killed them. They need to make a statement. Braun and Murphy could definitely help them. That's one way of making a statement, for sure. That is definitely one way to make a statement. Sorry about that. That's one way to make a statement for them if they were to bring in two big names, or at least a big name like Braun Strowman. That could be the boost that they need, for sure. Taking a look, Jorge says, as the roster is now very thin, they should bring back CM Punk and feud with Roman and use the Heyman history with the Punk angle. That would be fun feud for live crowd. I'm gonna say this: I'm not going to go too deep with CM Punk. I'm not a fan of CM Punk. I absolutely despise his fan base, which is probably the reason why I'm not a CM Punk fan. Very self-righteous. Everything he says is the gospel. He could say no wrong. I'm not a fan. I was a fan initially of CM Punk because of his talents in the ring and charisma and all that stuff. But since he left, and I don't know, I guess it's his fan base or whatever it is, I'm not a fan of CM Punk. I do not want to see him back. I'm not a fan of his. That's my mini rant. That's my opinion about CM Punk. I'm just not a fan. Period, not a fan. Jamel says, bingo, regarding Mike. New Japan needs something because this could kill them. Yes. And regarding CM Punk, Jamal says, let CM Punk stay home. Daniel says, let me repeat myself. No. And Mike brings up a very excellent point or question. He says, I really wonder what's going on with WWE and these releases, though. They sent out the talent that it was budgetary. That's ridiculous. Oof. So it was a budget issue. Look, if it is a budget issue, obviously Braun has around, from what's being reported, what was rumored, around $1 million contract, which is still $1 million, still good money. So Braun being released is something. Aleister Black, for me, is still surprising. Unless Aleister Black is making 7 figures, which I doubt it. If I'm being honest, I don't think he's making 7 figures. Unless he's making 7, or at least in the high 6s, his release makes no sense for me. But hey, what do I know? I know nothing about finance, not the guy to ask. Daniel says, time to take a look at WWE financials again. Jamel, WWE for sale. Call me crazy, but I think they are gearing up to be sold. We have Famous D in the chat. Hello, Famous D. He asks, is Vince really selling WWE? What do you think? Well, I'm going to answer it with kind of a Mike, with Mike's comment here. He says, they're posting record profits. Was Nick Khan hired to set them up for a sale to NBC? This has been rumored. People have been talking about it for a couple of years. Are they going to sell? Is Vince finally looking to step down? And look, maybe it could be Vince's idea in his mind of, well, either I have WWE or no one has it. So maybe Vince is looking to step down. Maybe he can't do it anymore. Who knows? And if that's the case, maybe he's thinking, well, I don't want to give this to whoever it is. I'm just going to sell it, wash my hands, and I'm done with everything, right? It could really be that. Who knows at this point? There's a lot of talk about it. Obviously, rumors, nothing officially reported or nothing even reported. It's really just rumors at this point. Gil's fan has a different, mindset. He says Vince would only sell if he could guarantee he could still run the show. I don't know. It's tough to tell. I think if Vince sells, I think he's out of the game. I don't think Vince would sell and have someone else technically be his boss. I don't think that would happen. But hey, who knows? Daniel says, where there's smoke, there's fire. Yeah, for sure. Jamel, also Vince is 75 and looks bad and doesn't have the same maniac Vince energy. Time might be up soon. It is possible, buddy. It definitely is possible. And Mike writes, oh, sorry, I thought that was showing up for a second. Mike, he says, Vince still thinks he's the kid from the trailer park in North Carolina. He's getting up there. Could be his last chance to make a big impact with a $4 billion sale. It is possible. It is possible. Look, all things considered, if you look at it, wrestling is not necessarily at an all-time high. This is not the 90s with the Attitude Era or even the 2000s. It's not. Wrestling is, yes, there's a lot of choices for wrestling fans. If we're talking AEW, WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact, all that stuff, yes. But in terms of actual popularity among the general public, wrestling is not that popular anymore. And maybe Vince sees it. Maybe he's not as senile or as crazy as we think he is. Maybe he sees it. Maybe he knows it. I mean, you don't become a billionaire, I guess, twice without having some sort of knowledge, right? And maybe Vince gets it. Maybe he says, you know what? This is it. I made as much money as I can. I'm up there in age. I've worked my entire life, every single day, never taking a day off. And I need it. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is Vince's last big payday. It could be. It could be. And so Jamel says, again, hilarious and sad how we just breezed past Ruby and Santana Garrett. Look, what do you want me to say? I mean, Ruby was in a tag team, and I feel bad. Obviously, I feel bad for both of them, but unfortunately, this tells you how much of an impact they've actually had on the shows recently. Be it NXT or WWE or whatever it was. Very little impact. Jamel, AEW is putting WWE out of business, pal. For sure, that's how AEW fans, or no, I take that back. For sure, that's how WWE haters will take it. Because unfortunately, these days, 1 + 1 does not equal 2. Unfortunately, not in the minds of wrestling fans. Because in the minds of wrestling fans, it's you either love WWE and hate AEW, or you love AEW and hate WWE. And those that love AEW and hate WWE will definitely say AEW put WWE out of business. Let them think what they want to think. Mike, I think of all the releases, Ruby Riot's release hurts morale the worst because she was super popular in the women's locker room. There's like 6 women left, and they've got to be down in the dumps. You know, I never really thought about that, Mike. I never really thought of that, or at least not thought of it that way. And it's true, right? Morale in general must be low, especially on the women's, in the women's division, because no one is safe. They got rid of They got rid of Ruby. They got rid of Santana Garrett, and they got rid of Lana. That's 3 women they got rid of this week on an already very, very thin women's roster. And, you know, like Mike mentioned, Ruby's pretty popular in the women's division, in the locker room. So that's got to hurt, especially now if they're going to start going on the road again. And, everyone in the business, it's your colleagues or like your friends or like your family. And if you lose someone like Ruby, who is very popular, doesn't help. It doesn't help. And yeah, let's take a look at these comments here. Jamel asks, better question is, will Triple H and Stephanie still be around if the company is sold? Who knows? Look, we're discussing and we're talking, and WWE might not even be sold. Who knows? Genuinely, who knows? And if you're thinking about it, let's be honest. I'm going to throw this out there really quickly before we wrap things up. If you're a businessman or businesswoman, if you're a company, right, whatever the company, would you want to buy the WWE right now? Show of hands. Let me know in the chat. If you're watching us on playback, leave a comment. Let us know. And for those in the chat, let me know. If you're a company right now, do you buy WWE? Do you think the WWE as a whole, as a company, is profitable? Would you spend $1, $2, $3, $4 billion, whatever the amount is, to buy WWE, to buy the company? Yes, you're getting the library and everything that comes with it. But would you buy it knowing that the company, yes, they, obviously they have a contract with Fox and USA Network, but once those contracts are up, how profitable will the company be? That's my question. How profitable will it be? Will wrestling be on the rise again? Will it? Will it not? I don't know. Jorge says, I would buy, so he would. Daniel, opposite. Daniel says, I wouldn't, he would not buy any wrestling promotion right now, not WWE, Impact, AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan. That's the issue. Why? Like, I could get Vince wanting to sell. Personally speaking, I don't get someone wanting to buy it. That's the issue. Mike says, I think the handicap of Paul Levesque to shareholders is he has no business experience. I'm not sure he has anything above a bachelor's degree. They'd freak if he took over. Oof. So that was going back to the original question of will Hunter and or Steph still be in the company or running the company should the WWE be sold? Gil's fan mentions anybody that has wrestling knowledge would not buy it. Daniel says, why waste money? Andrew writes, to me, I don't see Disney buying it. Maybe the Khans or NBC. I'll say this. If WWE is sold to Khan, to AEW, it's going to be for a hell of a lot of money. It's going to be for a hell of a lot of money. That's the only thing I would say. I'm going to say about that. Jorge says, it's simple math. It's cheaper now. You have time to get good writers and fresh talent from NXT. When live crowds come back, profits go up. All right. Mike says the opposite, Jorge. He says, I don't think wrestling is coming back. The business was cyclical in terms of popularity, but we're 2 decades removed from the end of their hottest era. Right now is as popular as it will get. So that's another one. I think that's 3 votes to 1. If I'm taking Mike's answer as a no, I would not buy. That's 3 votes to 1 saying they would not buy, right? Daniel writes, Cody would have the biggest hard-on if WWE is sold. Gil's fan, Vince would never sell to the number 2 company. Never say never. If the money's right, if Vince is asking $4 billion and he says, look, I'll sell it for $4 billion, but Tony Khan, I want $5 or $6 billion. Numbers are numbers. Money talks. Money talks, and never say never. And Jamel writes, I don't see a boom period happening, but maybe a new, different leader to shake up the company. Look, wrestling has always been a niche product, right? I don't know anyone. I really don't. Not in the last 20 years at least, or at least since the Attitude Era. I don't know a single person, and if you guys do, let me know, but I don't know a single person in the past 20 years that became a diehard wrestling fan or a wrestling fan, right? Possibly, I guess maybe Mike, maybe Victoria. Correct me, Mike. I don't know, maybe Victoria. But other than that, personally speaking, I don't really know anyone like of my friends or anything like that that says, oh yeah, I started watching wrestling when The Miz was world champion. Or no offense to Victoria. Victoria, if you're listening, if you're watching, I love The Miz. Sorry, I don't mean that. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know anyone that started maybe around 10 years ago when Ziggler was champion or The Miz or when Nexus was around. Like, generally speaking, I don't. It was mostly Attitude Era and before, right? Daniel says money talks, bullshit walks. Mike, okay, so never mind. Mike, I got it wrong. So Mike says, I'd buy because TV stations want live destination television. I'm just saying it's never going to explode or return that huge investment. All right, there you go. Okay, so Mike kind of clears the air. Mike would buy. And The Miz did bring Victoria in. That's exactly when Victoria started wrestling that Miz title reign. So my apologies. I can't say more than that. And there was a comment here by Jamel. He says, the library that WWE has is probably the most valuable thing they have and would be the thing that drives the price. That and merchandise opportunities. Yeah, obviously the library is valuable for sure, especially if they end up, the networks on Peacock and everything. It would still bring in money. It's just, is it worth it at this point? So I don't know. Look, I'm not good in finance, not good with money. I spend money left and right. It's not my thing. So I'm like the worst person to ask when it comes to this. That's why I'm asking you guys, would you buy or would you not buy? And Andrew writes, Andrew started in 1985, and Roy said, if we have no WWE, then wrestling goes back to being a niche thing. Yes. And Mike, regarding Victoria, she quite literally may be the only person that started watching wrestling because of the Miz reign. I still married her. Aren't you lucky, Mike? Come on. Mike says that Mike, you're saying that like it's a bad thing. Come on. Yeah, and literally, I guess Victoria is the only person I know that started watching in the past 10 or 15 years even. But yeah, so let us know. Leave us a comment below. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on Facebook, leave us a comment. Let us know. Would you buy or would you not buy the WWE? Everyone's talking that Vince is going to sell. What do you guys think? Right? What do you guys think? Would you buy? Would you not buy? Let me know. All right, guys. This has been so fun. I missed it last week. I do apologize. It was, if I'm being brutally honest, last week was a very difficult week for me. A lot of work going on in my personal life. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I was dead. I wanted to do the show, and I was set up to do it, and then 5 minutes before, I'm like, I can't do this. I didn't have the head for it, so I do apologize. However, we were back this week. It's been a blast. I love it. I love doing the show with you guys. I really, really do. I love the interaction, be it on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, whatever. But specifically here, it's always a blast. Always good. Thank you guys for joining me. Mike, thank you, Mikey. Thank you, buddy. Make sure Mike is here on Mondays. Mike and Victoria, the first, forget what WWE says, the first wrestling couple, right? The first wrestling couple on YouTube, on Facebook, only here on Wrestleview.com on Monday nights, on the Post Raws. Mike and Victoria Tedesco, they sit through Raw, so you don't have to. They suffer through Raw, so you don't have to. It's the least you can do, right? Go with them, listen to the show, watch the show, like, subscribe, leave them a comment, interact. I know they'll appreciate it. I would appreciate it. And on top of that, it's a very good show. It's better than mine, tenfold. Give them a follow, give them a listen. They're on Monday nights immediately following Raw. Anyways, guys, that's it. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. Thank you for joining me. My name is Roy Nemer of Wrestleview.com, your SmackDown recapper and your SmackDown Post Show host. Till next time, take it easy, be safe, and remember, it's just wrestling. Don't take it too seriously. Try and enjoy it. Peace out, everyone. Have a good one.